we have already established a quorum and we are in open session, so we're going to start the meeting. At this point, I need a motion for approval of the agenda, please. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda items? All in favor? Communications, Cole.
Yeah, we got a thank you card. Odessa R-VII Board of Education and Administration. We want to thank you for the flower arrangement that was sent during our loss. Again, thank you, Randy, Jen, Tori, and Nate Florence. Randy, awesome.
Thank you. Okay,
And nobody submitted requests for comment.
okay. Next up is our financial report.
Yeah, I'm gonna give that, in the absence of Miss Andrew. So the 2022 bond project, finance project update, the end of September, we had spent $6,147,491.47 on completed and paid invoices, leaving a balance of $1,086,076.98. The payroll department today got the GASB 68 filings submitted to PSRS and peers. And as mentioned last month, the district is on track for auditors to be at the November meeting to present the 2022-2024.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, we have academic focus. Chris and Amanda.
All right.
Mr. King.
So we've got something special for you guys. So we've got Mr. King filling in for Miss Dillon. So Miss Dillon was going to present this tonight, but due to the family medical piece, Mr. King's going to fill in for her. He's actually mentoring her through this anyways. So this is building thinking classrooms. Really cool. We have different teachers throughout all grade levels doing this. You're going to see a piece of it here, as you can see over here. It involves kids in groups thinking, standing, taking turns writing, taking turns listening to instructions. But the whole time there's lots of thinking and collaborating going on. So very impressive. Mr. King's leading this for not just our building but others. So if we couldn't have Ms. Dillon, we've got the guru here leading this, so we're blessed in that way. So we've got 6 awesome kids here. They're going to be doing some thinking. They may invite some of you, challenge you as well. So get your thinking hats on. It's coming. So, Mr. King.
Okay, so as you can see, the title of the book that we have been studying, and as Mr. Doring mentioned, there are actually 10 of us in the district right now who are studying this book. It is taking over, and I know it's going to sound weird, but Twitter, Facebook, all of the teachers and mathematicians that I follow around the United States and Canada, even some into New Zealand and stuff. This is a big book that's going on right now. It's to promote thinking in a classroom. I'm not saying our teachers don't promote thinking, but the book is based on a guy by the name of Peter Liljedahl. This is a quote that he put in: if students aren't thinking, then they aren't learning, full stop. He researched, and this is his picture and the picture of the book as I showed you, he researched 40 different classrooms in 40 different schools. What she didn't put up there is over 40 years, or a 15-year span. He was doing research. He went to schools and asked, I want to see your best teachers. He didn't go to anyone. He said, who's your best? In those classrooms, he went kindergarten through 12th grade, so it wasn't one specific grade level. He went to both low and high socioeconomic. Ask yourself, if they're not thinking, what are they doing? And he came up with 5 behaviors that students really do. You can see the biggest one of those is called mimicking. And when I've read this book, I gasp. I'm like, I can't believe it, because I always considered myself one of the good teachers, and I realized how much my kids were just repeating what I showed them. They weren't having to think about anything. I showed them how to do it. They just repeated the steps. They weren't thinking. And so when he did his research, mimicking is what most students do. So again, I'm not trying to put students down. I'm not trying to put teachers down. But in America and in society, we have become a society that when we are teaching, we show the kids, they repeat. I do, you do, they call it. He said that's not how we should be doing it. He also saw kids who were just faking. They would write stuff on their paper, not really knowing what they're doing, erase it. Made it look like they were working, but they really weren't working. You had others who were stalling, getting up, sharpening their pencils 3 or 4 times, going to the Kleenex box, looking through their files or their folders, trying to figure out where my stuff is, because I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm gonna look like I'm being active. There were some that were slacking, heads down, not doing a thing at all. And then you had some that actually did try. Whether they looked back and repeated step by step what the teacher did, they actually were ones that tried to take off and go on their own. And he said, we've got to figure out a way to get students to think. His ultimate goal was, how can we bring problem solving and actual thinking and conversation into the classroom? And again, I'm not trying to cut down our teachers. I've been teaching 23 years, but when I read this book, I realized I taught a lot of years just like that. I showed the kids, they repeated what I did. Many of them learned, but many of them didn't. So he did this and realized he had to start teaching through things that are called tasks. Some of them are things that we can script specifically to match our curriculum, our standards that we have. Some of them are just good old-fashioned problems that you give a kid to try to figure something out. So you're going to see a couple, or just one of the tasks today. These are tasks that are out there for kindergarten through high school levels. And actually right before this, the 10 teachers that are in reading this book, we just had our meeting today. We did a few of these together, and we talked about how one task would look at a 2nd grade level versus a middle school level versus a high school level. So some of these can be done in many different ways depending on how the task is written. All of these tasks, though, are designed for the students to be doing most of the work. We as teachers don't show them how to do it. We pose a problem to them, we make sure they understand any vocabulary they might need, and they go. There are 3 things you're going to see today, and these are 3 of his main things. The first one is the task itself. I'm going to show you a little bit more about that, and if you have questions any day, let me know. The second are called VRGs, visibly random groups. The kids don't pick their partners. I don't pick their partners for them. Too often, as teachers, I would decide I wanted to put a group together because I wanted to keep these 2 best friends apart. Or this kid has had a problem in class with this kid, so I'm keeping them apart. A lot of times we try to do things to make our lives easier. Visibly random groups, the cards fall how they fall. If the 2 besties are together, they're together. If 2 students that haven't gotten along together, they need to learn life skill of, hey, I gotta work with people even though I don't like them. So it's a really cool thing that every period they come in, new group. So every day they're working with somebody new. It forces them to work with each other. And then the last one is VNPS. That stands for vertical non-permanent surfaces. You will see those are up on the wall. His research shows, and this is scientific, when people are standing, your blood flows more. You're thinking more. It's better for your posture. And so he suggests all students should be standing. And yes, I've done this after school with clubs, and I've had kids standing for 40 to 45 minutes straight, and they work the whole time. So it can be done. So today, we are actually going to invite these 6 youngsters. I've got Sammy, I've got Jenna, I've got Aaliyah, I've got Finley, I've got Jace, and I've got, don't tell me, James. And these 6 have been picked by Miss Dillon. I didn't have anything to do with picking them. They're going to do a task, and I'm going to show you kind of how this goes. I think I set the cards over there if you could hand me the cards. You will see that I have taken 3s and kings. The only reason I took 3s and kings is because that's the pages that were brought for me from our school today. One of the teachers, Miss Dillon, who does this, she laminated paper and put it up there so the kids can write. And you'll see later some different things and options we have. I will mix these up in a minute, and the kids will go to whichever thing they draw. It's just the luck of the draw. Kids, before you go, I have to make sure you understand what you're doing today. Okay, so I'm going to go over here real quickly and introduce the task to you. So here is the task. I have created what type of shape here?
Square.
Okay, a square. It is 3 by 3, correct? Good news is that has nothing to do with the problem today. The problem today is in this square, you're going to use the numbers 1 through 9. You have to use each of the numbers once each. Does that make sense? You have to get every row, every column, and the 2 diagonals to each have the same sum. Do you understand? What questions do you have before we start? Think you got it? Okay. Use them 1 through 9 once each. Every row, every column, and the 2 diagonals all have to have the exact same sum. Can you hand them a marker and an eraser, 1 per group? Pick a card and go. your board. Any of you board members or staff, if you want to go over and work with them or listen to them, please feel free. Parents, I'm sorry you won't hear their talk from as far away, but come over and take a look if you would like to be parents or board members. Get up there close and listen to them.
You're like, what? So like it has to have same sound.
One of the things you guys will notice, I can tell them what the song is. They have to figure that out. I did not tell them the song. There are ways to do it, but I didn't let them know. You can ask me questions.
Can we use like any type of like minus plus?
That's a great question. So I'm going to steer you back to the word up there. Do you know what that word means?
Like the same number.
When you're doing what? So you think you got it?
Okay.
Yes. That's the question I asked you.
If we only have
Well, why don't you start putting numbers in the boxes and see? What can you get? Oh, he's got a tip. Let's see. Did that make sense?
No, not really.
Terry's teacher.
That's what we're talking about.
But see, here's the thing. I can step in and do it.
Before he thinks out of balance.
I don't want to stop them from thinking.
It's harder for some things to include that and others. Not for yourself. Balance. Now that
You gotta try it. You gotta start putting. Okay, so I'm going to give a hint to both clubs. I like that some of the board members are helping. Boys and girls, don't be afraid to start putting numbers in boxes and see what it adds to. Just guess and check if you don't have any other strategy, okay?
You just write
So
numbers.
put numbers in the box and see what you come up to.
How many did you put? It's like 819.
What sum mean? What sum mean? So then,
That's 18.
I'm gonna make a mark. What's it equal out? Okay, so then you need to get this to add to 18 and this to add to 18 and this. So keep going and see if it will work.
9.
See if it will work.
Okay.
but you only have 3 that you can. So you need to get these 3 to go up and down to add the same thing as these 3 across.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so just start putting some things in and see what you're thinking.
9, 7. 9, 6, 2, 2, yeah, 7, 5,
Put 3 in, you choose. You decide to go one little, one middle, one.
5,000%. Did you? Okay, I didn't know that.
I'll give you another. Step back. The girls real quick. I'm not saying copy what they've done. You see what they're starting to do here? And I'm not saying 18's right, but they're starting to put numbers in there and take guesses. Don't be afraid.
this is kind of dry.
You need a different one?
One, 7,
Only one person marker, remember? Students, if you haven't yet, switch markers. New writer.
Well, 7 plus what?
In this, we give 1 marker only. There isn't one per person. 1 student writes. The others are talking with them and they're communicating. After a little bit of time, they now switch and they switch. A new person writes. You also can get it to where whoever writes can't write anything that they want to do. They have to listen to others if you want to go that step. So there's ways that you can change who's writing, what the process is of the writing so that one person can't take over. So it's a very interesting process of how it goes.
Or now, what are we doing? 8, 1, and 3. So 8, 3, 6, 11, 6. What? Oh, no. Oh, that's smart. So it balances. I was thinking of the yeah, get the way. I'll just get it wet.
I don't know if it'll do it. I was sitting here trying. I know, yeah.
Now we can use the 9. No, we can use 9 everywhere. We can little 8 and 9 everywhere. Okay? 8, 1. No, 8, 1. What? 8, 1. Right here. 8, 1.
He's doing it on his own now. You're trying to figure it out.
I know. But I got my
Great.
7, 18. It's fun.
You were on the right path.
What can you do?
So,
1 and 7.
wait a minute, let me ask you something. Let me
We've
ask
already
you
got this
what's your number
halfway
that you
done.
have left?
Here's the quarters, 1, 7, and what? If you do
Put those in. Is your flow or your whole cube? So the number you're trying to add to it.
10.
Points left. It is. You don't want to add 11.
Okay.
That'd be higher.
No, I was thinking 10, but we don't have another 8. And we don't have 10. No, like these 2 is 10.
It is puzzling, isn't it? So one more thing real quickly, I did just do this with the teachers regroup that we had, and one of the group of teachers didn't even figure out the time we gave. So it's pretty tough. It is. You want a pencil so you can try it? I didn't bring pencils, I'm sorry. But now you can go home and try it with your students if you want to.
So what if you're so that then you can put 9 on one side.
Wait, we could do
I didn't say this.
What's the middle of these numbers?
Keep going.
Same thing. Which two numbers make the same numbers as 9 and 1?
What?
So which numbers make the same ones as 9 and 1? 9 and 1 is 10.
Did you guys literally get all the girls together with like all the cards? The boys are gonna beat you.
Better take that as a challenge.
Take it to ignore it. So 9 and 1 is 10. What else makes 10?
7 and 3.
Maybe not that one.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
We're past our answer.
What already makes what makes sense?
82. That's 2. That's 2.
How about two?
This is 16. Gotta be the boys.
You almost there, ladies?
Ow! No.
So I'm gonna give you the same hint I gave the boys. Are you ready?
Give me my
I
hand.
like that you did 9, 1, 5, but don't do diagonal. So what would you do with them?
Put him up in.
Oh, now he's going. Yeah, now he's going.
We don't have the diagonal. We don't put the diagonal.
Okay, you guys have 1 more minute. 1 more minute, no pressure. 1 more minute.
And then, so these are 8 and 4, and now we have 9 plus 5 is 13. 1, 13.
Let's say that. Let's stay there.
2. Oh wait, no, we did it. Go! Go! 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 plus 9 plus
What's left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
6. Did we do it? We're like getting
By the way, it's been 60 seconds.
I was like, you can put that in there.
With the extensions?
At the same point.
I'm right, I was gonna say, seriously.
did it before the boys. Girl power.
Okay, so you can see their excitement. And to be honest, there's an extension that takes the next step. If they have solved it in enough time and we had the time in class to keep going. So as teachers, we plan ahead. You guys did fabulous.
Good job.
But we got it first.
Brady's got it first. Okay, so just a couple quick things. I won't take too much of. I know she had like 18 slides. I'll go through them as quick as I can. We've already done half of them. So you did see the vertical surfaces. These are non-permanent. What that means is they can erase over and over and over. They're not afraid to make a mistake. You just saw how much they kept trying, how many different ways they had to add, and they didn't give up. And you can see how excited they were when they got it. You saw that there were no more than 3 in a group. If it's a 3, if there's a different number of kids in class, you go down to 2. You don't go more than 3. As research showed, 4 was way too many. 2 sometimes, 1 would just tone out the other one and try to take over. And so when you had 3 people, His research showed that that helped more. I forgot to have him change markers one more time, that you're supposed to keep changing it so each person gets a chance to write, sharing their ideas, and I thought they did fabulous in trying to talk through their ideas to each other. Some of you even jumped in and tried it yourself, and I love the randomness of it. I was talking to somebody that it just so happened that all 3 girls got together and all 3 boys got together. I didn't want it to be that way, but it looks like the cards felt that way tonight. So, as you can see, it needs to be visible for students. We switch every hour, so if this was a class like 3rd grade, 2nd grade, where you had your kids all day long, well, I might do something different for science than I do for math if I'm doing something again. Some of you were asking about, is there for other classes? This book is specifically on math, but he has written other books for other subjects, and there are Facebook groups and things around the world where people started on their own because they saw the teachings of this and tried to figure out how can we do this in science, how can we do this in English. So it is there for other. We already talked about those. So this is just something, I'm not asking you to buy this for us, but if you ever had some money laying around, you want us to start helping us get services, a company called White Book has made some heavy-duty ones where you get 10 in the pack for $150. I know that's a lot of money, but the heavy-duty ones work much better than the others. As you can see, some of our teachers got creative, just took a piece of their chart paper and tried laminating it. Mr. Doring and I right now are also trying to get some of the plexiglass that was used when we had COVID and trying to do it where we're going to try to put that on the wall so they can write on. So we're just trying to find ways to get surfaces for kids to write on. But these are things, or if any of you parents want to help Venmo your teachers eventually for Christmas or something, we could buy one of these. One of the teachers that's in our group put a Facebook post up, and within one day she had $150 donated, and she has her 10 in her room now. So it can be done. So these are some things she has noticed in her class. She loves seeing the students willing to work together. She loves hearing them talking and sharing their ideas. She says she feels more now that she's almost like a facilitator. That just kind of like I was showing you tonight, just kind of pops in and helps them. But she's not the one driving the learner. The kids are thinking and the kids are learning. She loves that all of her kids are engaged. It also takes away some of the math anxiety and the math nervousness. They're not afraid to make mistakes. They're not afraid to try again and start over. And then the students, as you can see, they got excited when they finally got the answer. These are just a couple of the pictures of her kids at school doing a different problem called The Answers Are, Fabulous Task. So there's a couple of pictures of others of her groups. Any questions you might have?
How many teachers are you using?
So in my building right now, we have 5 or 6 teachers that have been studying it. One of them is a special ed teacher who doesn't have a big class at the time, so it's a little bit harder, but she wanted to learn about it. There's a 3rd grade teacher taking it, 2 4th grade teachers, and a 5th grade teacher, and myself as the math interventionist. I have to water it down a little bit different, but I have vertical surfaces in mind, so even if I'm not doing the task, the kids are still upstanding at board so that I can pop in and give hints and move in and out. There's one in the middle school who's doing it, 2 high school math teachers have joined the cohort and are starting to dabble in it a little bit as well. So there's 10 of us total in the district that are beginning to look at this principle. Well, thank you for having us, kids. Fabulous job. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have district recognitions.
Yeah, we have several recognitions, and as I read the recognitions for this month, President Young is going to present each person with a plaque. The first one I want to recognize is Miss Lynette Williams, our making a difference. Teaches social studies here at the high school, nominated by several staff members. Here's just a few of the comments. She's an incredible leader both in her department and to the building. She's always willing to help out. She serves as a mentor for new teachers and veteran teachers alike. She sets an example of positivity and is willing to take on many opportunities beyond the classroom to educate and influence students in a positive way. And congratulations, Ms. Williams, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Kendra Melizzi, if you would come forward. Ms. Melizzi, middle school principal, was recently presented with the Missouri Association of Secondary School Principals Central Region Middle School Principal of the Year Award. A great honor for Ms. Melizzi and very well deserved for everything that she does. She was nominated by her peers based on her continued commitment to students as well as her positive impact and advocacy for middle school students. The criteria that they use demonstrates a positive impact on education, works to ensure school climate is positive and reflects high staff and student morale, demonstrates creativity and imagination for students, and actively implements the goals and objectives of the school. Thank you very much for everything that you do. Couple more. Ms. Fagry, if you would come forward, please. Director of Special Services for the district was recently recognized as the Outstanding Administrator of the Year by the Missouri Council of Administrators of Special Education. Received several nominations from inside and outside the district. This honor is based upon outstanding achievements for students. She was presented this award at the annual MoCase conference 2 weeks ago. She's been a strong advocate for students since she joined the district while growing and offering students with disabilities more programs. Some of the programs that have been implemented to add these opportunities, she's expanded the Special Olympics track meet, added the Job Olympics for students, and expanded the Early Childhood Special Education Program. Thank you very much. And if you want to stay close, because I'll let you talk about the high school was recently recognized as a National Banner Unified Champion. So come on up.
Okay. Do you want to add one of those? Okay. There are more chairs tonight.
Yeah.
So we were chosen as a unified champion school for the state of Missouri at the high school, and that encompasses 10 national standards of excellence in our commitment to inclusion. We were also chosen as a national banner school as well. So there are 4 schools in the state of Missouri that were chosen for this award. So we're extremely excited about that honor. The first tier is under Special Olympics Unified Sports. So we offer at least 2 seasons throughout the year. We have track in the fall and spring, Unified Esports, which was added last year, and then basketball as well. Unified sports participation occurs regularly over the course of each sports season or school team and includes competitions. An adult coach for each sport who has received training from Special Olympics on unified sports. We have a few of those in the room that assist and several of our staff that help with those sports as well. Ms. Seals was here, Mr. Whitman, Ms. DeMoore last year, Ms. Port this year, Ms. West. There are several adults that are involved with this. Inclusive youth leadership, so a unified club or student group that offers leadership opportunities and training for students with and without intellectual disabilities. The inclusive club or group meets at least once per month throughout the school year. The inclusive club or group has an adult liaison, which is Miss Celie. I knew you were here. And is officially recognized by the school in a similar style as other clubs and activities would be. So they meet monthly, they plan activities together. They also help develop the plans for our unified events that we host as well. Whole school engagement. So at least 2 whole school engagement activities are implemented per school year. So you know about our track meet, the entire high school is involved in that. We also have Captain X Games and we have the whole school parade and some other things that we do here as well. Our students are acknowledged and recognized during whole school assemblies. And then we also have an awards banquet at the end of the year. So really trying to make Special Olympics another sport that we offer. Students with and without disabilities are involved in planning and leading. So Josie and her unified partner have been leading and helping develop plans for everything that we do here. They helped this year with the track meet. Josie has been a huge part of the success of our Special Olympics program. Under sustainability, we as a district have to prove that we are self-sustainable. So a lot of times whenever we do start up things with Special Olympics, there are certain awards or monies that are available to us to help us get started. But then from there, we as the district have to prove that we can continue doing the things that we're doing. And so we've been able to do that by the support of our community and the support of all of you. We have several people that volunteer. Thank you so much for volunteering at our track meet and assist us, but they also donate their time and their monetary investment as well, and they invest in our kids, which I think is really incredible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, if Mr. Dorn and Ms. Smith could come forward. The administrators at Upper Elementary, Principal Chris Doring and Assistant Principal Process Coordinator Amanda Smith, were recently recognized as the Missouri Society of Health and Physical Education Administrators of the Year. The honor is awarded to administrators who consistently offer outstanding support for their school, health, physical education, and school wellness. They have been strong supporters of Moshe within the Upper Elementary School. With the leadership of Mr. Doring, Ms. Smith, and Ms. Berry, they have expanded the programming and equipment for students as well as raising funds to support fitness and education for other schools. Thank you very much, Mr. Doring and Ms. Smith, for
I would like to say to our administrators, the reason that we're having the success that we're having has a lot to do with you all and your relationships and the jobs you're doing. So thank you very much. You deserve this, so.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have our superintendent's report.
Yeah, your administrative reports from the buildings are in your packet for review. Really the only thing in addition is district membership. I'm going to talk about that in a little more detail with the discussion item of our membership code. So that's all I have.
Okay, next up is our legislative update.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Thompson,
is here.
come on down.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and it's certainly my honor and privilege to represent you down in Jeff City. And every time I attend these board meetings, there's always kids enthused and people are recognized, and that's what it's all about. You're going to hear me talk several times about communication, and education. And, you know, like I said, this is always a pleasure for you to come over. And also, I want to thank everybody sitting here, a lot of people in the room, because you communicate with me. We kind of have a good relationship, and we'll run things by, I'll listen. And it's not always the way that people in Jeff City think it should go. But when it comes, when I respect the source where it comes from, it's right for the district. Right. And as you're all aware, there's several times that I voted against leadership. You know, my hand gets slapped, but you know, I'm a big boy, and go from there. And I'm kind of concerned. I'm going to be respectful of your time, and I'm going to talk about three things. But first of all, the governor, every time he sees me, he always asks, "How's that school up there in Lafayette County?" He really enjoyed that time up here. And you know, with the FBLA and National Honor Society, I mean, everybody was very professional, very courteous, and that's important. Going back to about communication, I had a meeting with DESI's board and the state board, and I kind of got the opinion that DESI really could do a better job communicating out here in the country. And I did it diplomatically, I thought, and the lady, after I said that, she says, can I be frank with you? I said, I certainly hope so. She says, you're part of the problem. And I got to thinking, and she could tell that I was a little puzzled. And she says, the legislators put everything on the books and expect us to get it done in a short period of time. We're not for sure exactly what you want, so how are we supposed to get it down to the schools out of your district? And she's right. You know, so since that time, I have the Representative Shelley Albershon, which she speaks very highly of you, and she and I communicate. She knows I'm here tonight, and when she comes around, I know where she's at, and we're gonna work together. And I respect her and everything else, so that's very important. Also, you're gonna hear me, and I've promoted it before, local control. You know, I mean, there's so many things that Jeff City thinks they need to control that you need to take care of. Because you know your district, you know your students, and if you don't do a good job, you're not gonna be here. But again, you all are all focused when you walk in that door, what's best for kids. And it's also with the administrators. It's very obvious to do that. So, you know, that's very important. The three things I want to talk about today is this past session. The past session was very chaotic, dysfunctional, very trying some days. And the House, I thought we got some things done. In the Senate, they just sat on it. And it's really kind of challenging to do that. Also, one thing, and I was with him last night, the Secretary of State has 163 initiative petitions on his desk that wants to go on the ballot. 163. You know, and again, I mean, everybody needs to hold everybody accountable in check, but 163 of them. And again, I mean, you know, that's time consuming, that's expensive, and they all won't make it. Also, today, and it's like for the city of Odessa, we finally got the safety sales tax passed. And on that bill, there was 42 amendments. 42 amendments on that bill. And it was a safety bill. And I go back, because I say that because, and I've got over here, and I'd answer any questions, and anybody has questions, please ask. But there was a total of 20 budget bills that went to the governor, 7 House bills, and 29 Senate bills. So that is just a little over, it was 56 bills. And we in the House, just the House, filed 1,481 bills. 1,481. Now, that's ridiculous in my opinion. But, you know, I'm just one of 163. I'll also tell you that we did a lot of good things for education with retired teachers, that they were having what we did. We fully funded the formula, transportation, and we did get the money back into the budget for the libraries. And so, you know, it was positive there. Also, the open enrollment school choice, it passed the House. Okay, all right, and it never did come back over from the Senate. When it left the House, it was 22 pages. The last bill that I saw over there had almost 100 pages added to it. And again, parents' bills were right, teachers' bills were right, this, that, and everything else. And we've had some good discussions about this. And again, if you communicate, you don't need a Bill of Rights out there to tell you what to do. But again, that's my opinion. On this, I will also tell you that and I've heard it from several sources, the open enrollment school choice, they're gonna come back with vision this year. And they're gonna be in the Capitol. and there is a lot of outside money coming in. And the money's going to be used for leadership that they think will support, not necessarily the best candidate. That scares me. That really scares me. And, you know, I think it's kind of sad that we do that, but, again, you know, we're supposed to educate all kids, but everybody needs to be held the same accountability to, which they're not right now. Charter schools in Kansas City, I toured 2 of them, you know, and they do not go by the same rules that we do, right? And so I'm opposed for any funding there. Going back, you will see, particularly this session, with all the amendments on there, you will hear or see that Representative Thompson did this, that, or whatever. In the veto session, which I supported the governor, there was they were decreasing a percentage paid to the highway patrol. And I went to the highway patrol, the rank and file did not want it, and that's why I voted, okay? Then all of a sudden, I'm getting these phone calls saying, hey, why don't you support highway patrol? If there is an issue, I'm gonna go to the source. I went to the libraries, I'm gonna go to the schools, and I'm gonna find out the other side of the story. So you will see this session, all these negative ads and everything else, and that is a shame. On also, the big concerns, is, Senate Bill 190. And Senate Bill 190 has 3 parts in it. The first part is no Social Security, no taxes on Social Security benefits. The second part is there is no taxes up to the maximum limit, I think, of $36,000 on your retirement pensions. And then the third part is where there's the problem. Basically, it says that when you are eligible for Social Security, that your real estate taxes will not increase. Okay, so the key word there is eligible for Social Security. You know, when we looked at it, you know, I thought, okay, that's 62, 65. Well, that's not the way that everybody's taking it. I've got phone calls, I know it's gonna be challenged, that there's a lady, 80-some years old, she's going back, or the attorney's going back to the tax base on her house when she was eligible for Social Security. So they think that that's the base to move forward. It will be challenged in court. Then also in that same bill is if the next reassessment, the property taxes would go up, the portion that the school district is to get will be issued a credit. You're gonna be issued a credit and you'll never receive the income, but you have to show it as income. So that's gonna mess up your levies and everything else. And it will be challenged. However, if that is changed, Senator Eigel said that there will be included in the language, no personal property taxes. So that we're kind of amenable there. Also, I talked about school choice. The legislators seem to think they want to control what you do with 4 days school week. Again, that's your job, that's not ours, right? And we've had some good discussion, and I know what you've done this year. You know, you're at the max of the educational days and everything else. And again, I mean, every district is different. The foundation, I spent 8 hours trying to educate myself on the foundation, and I could have spent 80 and I still wouldn't know. It is so complicated. I applaud the people that made it back then, but boy, it's challenging. There is talk that they want to change it. And if they do, I certainly hope that there would be individuals out there in rural that have some input on that. And again, we talked about parents' bills of rights, student bills of rights, and all that kind of stuff. I would support that. But it's kind of funny because every one of those bills, when they have that, they want to eliminate the April election too. There's always that motive. And going back to the amendment, it's very difficult to read an amendment that's 100 pages long and to find the keyword shall, could, would, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm immediately looking at the physical note. And if the physical note is extremely large, then I know there's something in there I don't like. Right, so that, I mean, that's the way I'm gonna handle it. The third topic is, the budget. I am really concerned about the budget. I mean, the state's solid, you know, and everything else. We do not have the reserve that everybody says we do out there. And the budget process is horrible. And after the budget was approved this year, we passed like Senate Bill 190, which was almost $300 million. And additional items out there, sales tax here or whatever like that. And this was after the budget. I mean, we cannot continue to do this. We ended up with a very positive, strong balance. But in July, we began to see a little decrease. Sales tax, up, one, down, all around. You don't know. But I'm very concerned. And I think I've told you all that I had asked to be on budget every session. And I'm gonna ask it next one, but they keep telling me I'm not qualified. And being in the banking business for 42 years, I'm not qualified. And then they come back and say, well, you don't understand a political budget. And they're right, because if I give you $10,000, I want some accountability. But, you know, I doubt very seriously if I get back on. Also, there is in the inflation, you know, the joint committee on ag has looked, you know, want to continue funding the formula. It's going to be very expensive. We have got to look at that. And again, we recognize teacher salaries, but we do it wrong. We sit here and tell you, you've got to pay this person back, but we only give you 70% of the money for 1 year. So I applaud you all for what you do on your budget. I know it's challenging and everything else. Also, childcare is a big problem out here. I applaud you what you do with early child care. And I mean, that's all over in every state. I also have complained enough that the speaker has put me as vice chair of a committee this summer that we are looking at physical policy. We need accountability. We have to have accountability to be fair to you and to everyone else. And so we're going to try to work on that a little bit. It's going to be very important that as the issues come up, you know, if you hear something, please get in touch with me, please call me or whatever. I'll respond back, I'll look at it. We're gonna start real quick on education because they get filed on December the 1st and there's a ton of them drafting now. And with the election year, it's going to be really different. But again, you're always welcome to come to Jeff City. Again, I certainly appreciate what you're doing here for kids. I would answer any questions. And again, I thank you, and please call me if you've got any questions. Nothing?
You covered a lot.
Yeah, I did. And again, you know, there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of good things going on, but we need to get accountable. So, right. You think I cover a lot, wait, you already see some of the conversations we had.
1,400 plus bills is nuts to me.
I know, so, all right, well, I thank you. Again, everybody's got my cell phone, call, whatever you need. And if you hear I'm a good guy, that's great. If you hear I'm a bad guy, it's probably true. All right.
Terry, I wanted to say I appreciate at times you crossing the fence for us. You know, it's
the right thing to do.
It is the right thing, but that's not the easy thing to do. So,
And, you know, I'm down there to represent, so we're supposed to educate all kids. And, you know, there is some good things in that, but the unknown is scary. So, like I said, just anytime, so, thank you all.
Thank you. Okay. Next up in discussion items, we have the construction update.
Good evening,
Good
everybody.
evening.
This is an exciting one. We are dangerously close to wrapping these projects up. So we walked yesterday with Excel Construction Company. went through all 3 buildings. When I was here last month, had a list, 8.5 by 11, down to like 2 or 3 real items. October 20th is an important day. They're gonna come back. You'll be out of school. The kids will be out of session there, so they're gonna come back and they've got that date tabled. 2 of their main subs are coming back to kind of pick up some of these last couple items. That will really close out a lot of the things on that list. We do have some VCT repairs at the middle school that need to happen. So the install job on that had a lot of imperfections. So we have talked with Excel. They've got their flooring subcontractor on board. New tile is already ordered, and they have agreed to come over Christmas break to replace all of the hallway, the back hallway at the middle school, as well as all the way up to the commons, and replace the bulldog as well. So we'll get a new install job on all that flooring as well. It's kind of the last big piece, and that's tabled for Christmas break, just so they've got an extended period of time where people are out of the building. So I think you got another round of pay applications, probably in consent agenda tonight. So been going through the kind of last change orders. We had another deductive change order, so money back for you all. There was an allowance up front that now we're ready to kind of put that back into your all's pocket. So we're wrapping a lot of these things up, so we're really close.
So I guess we'll need to ask teachers again to do stuff.
This is just hallways, commons,
Okay.
Yep.
in the front, the entry.
That give us time to wax the floors, everything for school residents.
Yes. They're gonna have to work whatever it takes, so we have time to do that.
That has been
Dr. Fagan
discussed.
and Patrick have already talked about that.
Yeah, we've talked about Excel going, they're gonna need 4 or 5 days to get this floor waxed,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
And there might be able to be some overlap too, where they get the hallway done, you start waxing the back hallway where they're kind of coming up to the front, or some of that overlap too, but yeah. All the dates are known to Excel, they've got it all to the subcontractor, that's all been discussed, and like I said, the new tile's been ordered as well, so. I guess it was a defective tile batch, so.
Did they get you might be able to answer this, the secondary doors done here at the high school, like if you enter the vestibule and you go through the second door? I noticed those doors didn't have like locks on them when I came in last Wednesday to help out with Special Olympics, and then I was over at the middle school a couple days before that to drop something off for my son, and they weren't done either.
Yeah, the new
But
cores.
Are those done now? So
They
like the
were-
locks or?
The electronic part, we're just finishing up that with the company that was on us. The Logan's working with finishing those up, and then the
Sweet.
cores came in
They
Monday
just
or
came in.
Friday, and
Yeah.
so Mike's going through switching out the construction cores.
Yep, so those are right now.
Sweet.
Yeah, those are both us.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I don't know who was responsible. I was just curious if those orders were made.
Yeah, I think it was, or late last week, maybe those cores came in. But yeah, we're getting those, they'll get switched out, so.
Is the film in? It was back ordered, I thought.
It's installed.
Oh, okay.
The contract is, the stuff that we're doing, when they were out, they did field measurements,
Okay.
so that, because it's all pre-cut and brought on site and put on. So that guy did the field measurement on that, and then once it's all cut, he'll come back and put it
Do they have a timeline on that?
on. What did he tell you?
He didn't have a solid timeline because he didn't know what had been ordered in the meantime. But he said it could be as early as a few weeks for the manufacturer, and then their schedule to come out.
Is there temperature requirements on some? He didn't make it sound like there was much, cause it's all put on the inside.
Oh, okay.
So some of the bubbling and those air pockets go away faster if it's hot outside, but it can still be installed since it's all on the inside. So it just takes a little longer for the haziness and stuff to go out when it gets cold.
And then just to reiterate, you think like the stuff that you have left will be done, obviously except for the flooring,
Right.
I mean, like within the next couple weeks or?
Yeah, that October 20th, I think is gonna be a big date to try to pick up some of those last couple items. So, got the glazer coming back and a painter as well coming back. And in the meantime, one of the gentlemen with Excel has been kind of working, and there's still some finished trim pieces and other items that, for the smaller miscellaneous items that he's getting picked up kind of before that. But that October 20th is when some bigger crews are coming in, so.
Was there some sort of penalty assessed for not meeting the deadline?
We're gonna revisit that when we do the next contract.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next up is our artificial intelligence in education.
Good one,
Yeah,
Seth. Couple staff members.
Next slide should be the start of your alls.
All right, we are going to talk a little bit today about AI and how it is transforming education, but not only education, but just life in general. It's probably the next big tech tool that will change how we do life. So just to kind of introduce it, what is artificial intelligence? It's not anything new. If you guys remember several years ago, Deep Blue playing chess against, I believe it was a Russian chess player, and beating him, and just several iterations since. Siri, your Roomba vacuum, when you get on Netflix, the suggestions that it gives you all would be AI. So what's really new would be generative AI. And so that's the use of artificial intelligence to create new content. So text or images or audio, things like that. And so I've asked these ladies to come in to share kind of how they're using it at the secondary and elementary levels, not only to make their processes more efficient as teachers, but also at the secondary level, how they're using it with students. Because, as we're preparing these kids to be successful in their careers as they leave us, this is a tool that they're going to need to be familiar with and how to use in responsible ways, right? And so I'll turn it over to Ms. Twombly, and she'll share the right.
This one, okay. Just want to make sure I didn't miss it. So I just had a couple of ways. I divided this up into how we as teachers have been using it, and how students are using it. I talked a lot with my cohorts in the English department. Barry Cruson, she's doing a specialist, and she's looking a lot at this. Lindsay Chambers, they work with our juniors and seniors, and they've really just dived headfirst into this. The rest of us are kind of looking maybe second semester at doing some more with freshmen. But for teachers, Magic School AI helps with a ton of tasks. So you can very easily create rubrics. Not that you can't create them on your own, but this kind of helps streamline the language. It makes it a little bit more similar across the department. It aligns with standards a lot easier, and it takes a fraction of the time. Even email crafting, so if you get a particularly nasty email, you just filter it through, and it'll put out something a little bit nicer. It can outline lesson plans for you, give you suggestions. It doesn't fill that in. That's something you as a teacher obviously still have to do, but especially for new teachers, or if we're looking at changing some things quickly in curriculum, it's a real time saver. Brisk is a Google extension, and you can put text in and it actually changes the reading level. So that's really great with accommodating students who need that lower reading level. Canva just came out with a creative AI. It helps with flyers, worksheets. And then Edge Elastic has even gotten in on the game, and it will help you come up with test questions. So it's kind of, like I said, it's nice that it kind of helps with the language and rewording things and making it a little bit more, the word I'm looking for is official. It doesn't feel like the word I'm looking for. I've got a sample here. This is Magic School AI. So I put in 9th grade reading level, write an argumentative essay on First Amendment free speech, write a persuasive speech that advocates for the most important components of the First Amendment. Please align with Missouri learning standards. That's down below. I click a button, and it didn't even take it a minute. It popped up with this. So you can kind of see the language it's coming up with. Content, the essay demonstrates clear understanding of the most important components of the First Amendment, presents compelling arguments supported by relevant evidence and examples. So once again, using that language of relevant supporting evidence, I'm not saying that I wouldn't have said it, but I might not have phrased it that way, so it kind of is streamlining that language and maybe making it a little bit more consistent. For students, we use Grammarly. Grammarly now has generative AI, so it'll help students rephrase. So if their syntax is a little backwards, which is really nice, as well as doing other corrections. And then Brisk, once again, students can use Brisk. That's an extension that's open to them. They can use Canva. Canva offers education classrooms. Bard and ChatGPT are awesome. I like Bard personally a little better than ChatGPT, but you can't use it if you're under 18. So it's really not good for students. But ChatGPT is really awesome. It can paraphrase quotes. So if you're trying to write a research paper as a high school senior and you need to rearrange a quote to fit in your paper, you can put it in there. It'll help you with that. It also helps develop outlines. It helps start research. And just in general, kind of get some of that technical stuff out of the way so our students can be more creative and focus on the writing part of the process. So I did put something that we've talked about in the ELA department and I've talked about in my master's. We have to work on a couple of things with students. So prompt language, how do we ask it questions that give us the responses we want? Because if I go and say, give me an essay, like it's not gonna put it in the right reading level, right? Like you have to ask the right questions, you have to phrase it. Even if I go, give me a lesson plan on how to teach Romeo and Juliet, it's not gonna align it with Missouri learning standards unless I ask that. So prompt language is really big with students. And then teaching students how to use it in that pre-writing phase appropriately so that they're not plagiarizing is a big thing. And I think this is gonna be the next thing in education we have to really look at is what is plagiarizing. To give you kind of an example, I put this in, so I asked ChatGPT, who is William Shakespeare? So if I was a freshman writing a paper on Shakespeare, who is he? And it gives me this nice little blurb really quick. And then I put in, can you provide me with references for this information? So it didn't give me links, but you can see there it's got Encyclopedia Britannica, Folger Shakespeare Library. It had about 15. So if I'm a student that is really struggling with starting a paper, that just gave me a really quick summation of who Shakespeare is, so I know what I'm looking at, and it gave me good, credible sources. Every source was a good source to go to, that they could then now go Google the Folger Library and go to it. So it really would streamline the process, particularly for students who struggle. Because we do have those kiddos that stare at a blank screen for approximately 2 days of class, unless you're over there with them, because they don't know where to start. So this is really exciting to help them get a start so then they can be creative and write. Yes?
Is this open source or subscription?
ChatGPT is open source, and that's kind of one of the things, like talking with students about it before we use it with freshmen, and I know like Barry and Lindsay have talked, letting students know you can't put personal information in, right? Like, because it goes into their database. So my searches are now part of their database, which isn't a bad thing if you know that, right? So that's something teaching students, but ChatGPT is open source.
So I have a little different perspective on it. My students, they're 8 and 9, so they barely know how to get on a Chromebook, and so I use it for more. Every morning I have a morning meeting slide, and I always put a daily haha or a joke of the day. So I use it to generate those that are kid friendly. Sometimes, I don't know if you ever Googled funny jokes, they're not always school appropriate. So this just gives me more appropriate things. And then I also use it to lesson or unit outlines. Sometimes I'll look at my last year's lesson plans and I don't like the way I approach it, so I will throw in a learning standard or a topic or this is what I want, and it just kind of gives me a rough outline, and so I know, okay, I like that piece of it, so I'm going to take that piece and add my own pizzazz to it. I also I actually used this today, spiraling back. Right now, our sole subject in math is multiplication and teaching those fundamentals, but I also wanted them to not forget how we add and subtract 3-digit numbers and place value. So I put in, make me a spiral back, and you choose the amount of questions, and it gave me that. And then I use this one more frequently to generate parent emails. Those kind of more generic ones that I'm like, when I introduce myself, and I'll show on here when they announce, hey, this is who your teacher is, just to kind of send, and it leaves blanks for you to plug in your information about me to make it more me, and send it out. And I use Magic School AI and Canva Write Magic Design. Those are my kind of more go-to ones just on the elementary level. So this is a joke that I had it generate, and I had jokes for a school board meeting. And so why did the math book go to the school board meeting? Because it wanted to get some extra problem solved. And why did the pencil refuse to attend the school board meeting? Because it didn't want to get led astray. So they're kind of funny. My students love them, and sometimes they're like, really, Miss Gurney? Yeah. And then this is the just kind of general email. It leaves blank. The blanks for how many years I've been teaching, field of study, where I graduated college at, and kind of my philosophy. I plugged that in, my philosophy of education, and then I also plugged in my contact information. That way they had it and a link to join. So it just makes my life super easy and a lot quicker, especially those emails. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know how to respond to this. And so I will plug it in there, and use that, so. Any other questions?
One thing I do want to add, I've been at Columbia at the MoreNet conference the last 2 days, and pretty much every block of sessions, there was a session about AI. And just hearing other people talk from other districts, it made me so proud to be a part of this district because we have teachers jumping on board, ready to use it. Many districts aren't even allowing it with their students yet, and we already have, this is my, I guess, prejudice, thinking our secondary ELA department, you would think would be the most resistant probably to something like this, and they've jumped right in and are using it with students, and it's fabulous.
I guess I really like on the instruction side, using it to kind of help your guys, your day, make it easier for you guys so you can do what you do best. I guess my reservation is more on the student side. You know, we just talked about how important it is to keep them thinking and get their minds going continually. And I guess I just see some areas where that's supplementing the thinking part that kind of more concerns me.
Absolutely. I will say students are already using it. Like I catch them all the time and I'm like, man, how do I say this? This is not your writing. I write your writing, this ain't it. So you've got to really teach them how to use it. But on a positive side, so I had a senior, she's done like 3 interviews for a story that she's doing on Craft Club. And she was trying to organize her note and we're in a time crunch. She put her notes that she's worked already on to go in there. It helped organize it and was like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And so she was able to generate extra questions, go do a follow-up. So using it appropriately, that actually helped her kind of expand her story. It gave her a reason to go talk to more people a little bit quicker to meet that time crunch. So I think if used appropriately, it is going to be super beneficial. But you're gonna have to teach kids, it's kind of like the Google search. I remember when I was in school, I had teachers who were like, yeah, no, you can't use any online sources. But now that's all we have kids use. And we teach kids prompt language like Boolean language with the and the or and how to type it into Google. That's just a thing. So I kind of think this is going to head in that direction. And so we're gonna have to teach it, we're gonna have to shape it, and there are gonna be some bumps along the way, but I think in the long run, it's gonna give them an opportunity to be far more creative and focus on their writing.
And that's where I think more to get them thinking rather than to replace them.
So.
And I think teachers are gonna have to adjust, the way they approach things, but the nice thing about using it, I know Barry had mentioned, you can go into ChatGPT and say, give me some prompts for an essay that would not be easily easily plagiarized in ChatGPT. So you can use that to help you rethink your teaching to allow for that.
Any other questions? Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, next up, we have the CSIP plan.
Yeah, Dr. McCoy.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, the board adopted the enclosed CSIP document last spring. Many of the action steps listed are designed to help us move forward as a district. We have 67 listed action items, and they have either been completed, or they are in progress, or they are scheduled to be reviewed still in the coming school months. This spring, a new CSIP review team will look over all priority areas, SMART goals, and action steps. This 23-24 CSIP review team will eventually present an updated CSIP to the board for approval. We would recommend that this ongoing process be done annually so that the CSIP truly reflects a continuous strategic plan for the district. President Young was an active participant on the original CSIP team. We would like for 2 board members to be added to this year's 23-24 CSIP review team. If you are interested in being added to that team, please let either myself or Dr. Odinger know.
Did you volunteer too?
Huh?
No, he was pointing out my volunteerism.
Voluntold.
Paris. No, his hand went up before I did.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, he's got his hand up.
Yeah.
If anyone else wants to, just let either of us
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, you are.
know.
Okay.
Stay close.
Yeah.
Alright.
Next up, we have I-Ready Initiative.
Okay, the R-VII platform, and we have some information for you in your packet, helps the district meet state standards for data reporting on student progress. Additionally, the R-VII assessments, which are given 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end, provide teachers with easy-to-access data on their students and class groupings. Students who are struggling in an area can be better assisted by teachers with interventions while they continue on with the already planned for grade level information that every student needs. This platform allows us as administrators to review groups and grade levels for targeted support and interventions when needed. CO admin will meet with building principals monthly to review learning path data. The learning path portion of I-Ready platform is where a teacher can assign targeted problems to individual students and groups based on their measured weaknesses. CO and building educational leaders can review the use of the learning path tool to ensure if too much online use is taking place or too little, so that students are equally able to improve on their identified weaknesses. So there are 3 parts and a summary of our first screener that I wanted to present to you all. The first part would be a district overview, and Dr. Fagan, do you have this up or does he have that up? Okay. Okay, so you can see this is our K through 8 ELA data. The biggest part to remember is the green would be students that have been targeted as at grade level or above the grade level, but this was all done in September. There's still over 100 days of instruction left to move students in the yellow who are 1 grade level below. I mean, they've only been in school a handful of days, to move them towards the green.
That's exactly what I was gonna ask you. Yeah.
So then the red would represent students that are 2 grade levels below or 3 grade levels below or more, and then this would be our math. There also have domains that represent different types of strands and areas where there might be building blocks towards that subject content. And so when we have that type of information quick and timely, that gets that into our teachers' hands, our administrators' hands, and they can more timely go to assess any problems that a student might have. I look at it like you go to the doctor and they do a physical on you, you're in great health, but your cholesterol's a little high, let's make some adjustments to this little piece. And that's kind of what we get to do with math and ELA. The next slide, the next section would be more of a building's information that a building would have. So here would be middle school, and then the next after this we'll have upper, and then finally Macquarie. So this would be the building overall, our grade levels, and then our percentages, and then in theory, as we move throughout the year, you should see these adjust. Another piece to this is our first time ever giving this data. The more you give the data, the more of an accurate picture you're going to get as well. Honestly, we have younger kids, if you don't mind going to upper or Macquarie, sir. Yep. I would say the accuracy is even higher as you go up in grades just because of the student piece giving this assessment back. So we want to provide you guys with this information, and then finally the third piece would be an individual student example of what a teacher might see. So if I was a classroom math teacher, 8th grade or 5th grade or 2nd grade, I can then see these domains, numbers and operations, algebra, geometry, and I can see my student is at grade level or behind, and I can assign targeted pieces to help them with whatever learning goals they might have. In the past, if you just taught from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, you would never ever know if there was a hole in your student's learning from 7th grade, just because maybe the teacher was out on maternity leave and we had a substitute teacher, or all kinds of reasons, or there's a COVID gap. So this really helps us to target for interventions based upon the needs of the students. And our teachers, we have the teachers here with the math cohort where they're getting some great training on some of these concepts. On the reading piece, our ELA cohorts through letters are coming up with great understanding of how to do additional tests to further diagnose if there's major red flags in a student's learning, especially when it comes to the domains with phonics and phonological awareness with the letters training. So our teachers have really done a lot of learning in the last year to now take tools like this and apply it at the student level.
How long do these screens like take? How long will they take to perform?
The I-ready test.
We plan for about 3 days of reading and 2 days of math, but that doesn't mean all day, because there is a testing fatigue. So truly there's materials that they give us for guidance in about 30 minutes to give in some of the lower levels, and then they stop and they move on. So it doesn't take up the whole day of instruction. And then some of the tests at the lower levels are one-on-one, and so they have to do this with group support. The upper building with the title teachers really helped us to even do that at the Macquarie level. So it's not like an all-day testing thing like we've seen in the past with math. And it's different as you go up in grades. Mrs. Lizzie's here as well, and they're they've been giving math for a lot of years, so those teachers are a little quicker about giving a diagnostic assessment in 8th grade than what we have to do with 3rd graders. But it's all tailored, and it's not supposed to interrupt instruction, but it is kind of an all hands on deck, let's get good data.
The interference in the normal is a minimum compared to the value. To me, if you're getting this, I don't know how we can do it without it.
Yeah, this is gonna be awesome. I'm anxious to see at the end of the year what this stuff, what it looks like.
When's our next test cycle?
To try to balance out instructional days, it's going to be about in the middle of January, with the exception of kindergarten. There's just some weird nuances when Mr. Thompson was talking about state legislators with the law. This does meet some law requirements as well, but it creates some craziness with kindergartners having to do it in December and other nuances. But our 1st through 8th grade, we'll do this again in the middle of January to balance out the number of instructional days between the 2nd and the end.
We'll have a lot better look.
We'll bring this back in
where
February.
we're really at that point.
We'll bring this back in February so you guys can see the picture of.
This is the best part too, it's instant. It's not like math where you have to wait
Yes.
forever.
Yes.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
You guys won't.
I know we're young in the adoption. What I'm excited to see, hear about, and learn about is what are the mechanisms in place to not just inform teachers, but support teachers in adapting their instruction to these results?
Great question. And so I think that's kind of an ongoing process that kind of ties to other initiatives like MTSS.
Yes.
And so we've kind of started down that path last year with training for our admin, looking at, they do so many great things already in each building, but then putting it out there into a plan that's streamlined and consistent and constantly evolving, and then providing additional training once we identify what the needs are for our staff. Because truly, when I first started teaching, it was spray and pray. That was what the mentor teacher said. And now we've just totally adapted more towards what do you do when a student doesn't understand. We've had some amazing things in place in these different buildings, and now it's just putting it together into a well-planned MTSS model.
And we can focus those based on the student need now, because we've identified that need.
Because you got the data.
Jessica, thank you.
Yeah, the data on the first slide where it's the district view, and it calls out mid or above grade level, early on grade level. Is that where students should be in September or at the end of the school year?
This is based upon what, let's just say it's a 4th grade student. In this case, 28% of students are at that grade level or above. So they're there even though it's September. They've
What
already
they should know
mastered
from the whole school year.
from the whole school year.
Ahead
So,
of schedule, essentially.
Okay.
so they should be continuing to perform at that high level, and we should be adding more to the pot of that.
Okay.
So
Yes.
right now, the yellow doesn't alarm us. You know what I mean?
The yellow is kind of on track, really.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In theory, yes.
Theory.
Jessica, did you have a question?
I just was curious what your biggest takeaway from looking at all of this is.
My biggest takeaway is I really enjoyed listening to Mrs. Melizzi and our other building principals really get excited about it and how much they're talking. So we're going to meet with them and go over some of the learning path data and hearing how they're going to their teachers and talking to their team of teachers about this data. The teachers are also hungry for it as well. They all want to help a student, and sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. So we're equipping them with the tool, especially the learning path. The analogy is your Batman, you have another tool in your tool belt that they can help a student with whenever they're struggling. We're giving them more information. That's my biggest takeaway is the feedback I'm getting from them is that it's well received. Yes,
Last comment, I promise, but I always chuckle because the special education leadership and teachers would always sort of look at this and, I don't wanna say smirk, but they've been doing this for decades. So you have experts, right?
Yeah.
They're some of the best resources that we ever ran into. So, it's food for thought.
thank you all for your support in implementing the program.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Okay, next up is our curriculum handbook.
Dave.
Okay.
Help people comfortable shooting.
Yeah. This meets our CSIP requirement by outlining district guidance on best curriculum practices, including review cycles, terms of reference, and aligning to board policy and state standards.
This is a first reading, so we'll bring it back next month as a second reading.
Have we never had a curriculum handbook before?
Not for a long, long
I
time.
haven't found one. Looking.
So, who helped come up with this?
Started with a couple templates that I've received.
Okay.
I've asked Mrs. Whitney Twombly, she's been a kind of an intern to help me with that a lot, because she has a passion for it. We kind of worked on it together.
Mhm.
We took pieces from various resources, other districts we looked at, and one from a curriculum association, their template.
Okay.
And we applied it to ourselves.
Yeah.
As best as possible.
Yeah, I saw kind of the steps and how this plays out. Who, and this outlines basically like stakeholders, parents, they get an option to kind of like review. Do we select those people from as parents, community members, or, I mean, obviously this is probably gonna be online, right, on our,
Yes.
I mean, our curriculum's online too, but.
It is, and we need to, in our platform Embark, which houses our curriculum, there's a component of that that will go live, and that's a process that we're working through this year to replace some of the previous things that have been placed on there with more of a version of this. But we still are in the process of policing it and looking through it and looking for any discrepancies before we put a version of it live to the community.
Okay.
But that a visible, viable curriculum would be in alignment with what state would want.
Okay. And this talks too about like adoption years. I'm assuming adoption year is the first year you adopt it, really, and then from that point on, it's just reviewing it, making changes as necessary.
There should be a systematic review process.
Yeah.
And that's what a handbook kind of approved by the board would drive, is that you are being compliant with the board's wishes, following the handbook and reviewing them on a systematic rotation. Think of it as a uniform rotation for the high school sports team.
Right.
But only for your teaching.
Have some of the teachers seen this? Have the curriculum handbook?
Just the ones that I've had work on.
Oh, okay. Alright. Sorry, I'm going through my list of.
No, you're fine. I've shared it with the admin as well for feedback.
That's pretty much all I
I definitely think it's a good starting point.
have. Yeah. No doubt. I mean, I feel like
Go ahead.
one other thing too, is it kind of outlined like basically like how it was going to be given to. I'm assuming there's still going to be some freedom with the teachers to, you know, if they, because I think there's always instances probably where a teacher tries to teach something and they may not have a great day with it, and they're like, man, today does not go well. Kids just weren't getting it, and then they're going to try something different that next day. It's still going to give them the room to make changes and like maybe spend another day on things and like change things up, because some of this was like, the way I was reading it was like, you take notes and then you submit it for reviewing it, you know, to change it next year, but.
There can be concerns about changing a planned curriculum unless it's got data to back up the need for a change.
Yeah, and it
so there
talks
should
about
be
that.
establishing a process to do it versus just the kids didn't like it, let's redo this again, maybe lowering a standard.
Yeah.
So the process can be working with your building administration, whatever the norms are established, as a way to make an adjustment to curriculum when necessary.
Yeah.
Without something like this in place, what's to keep it just from being off task with what's aligned in the state.
Yeah, somebody just going.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because teachers always have the freedom to differentiate, but they don't have to change the core component of it.
To use a technical term, all willy-nilly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is
I'm ignorant to a lot of this, so
Makes
I'm just
sense.
learning this when I read through
There's
this.
we don't want to be robots.
Yeah.
There's an art and a science to teaching.
Yep.
But there's gotta be some non-negotiables.
Yep.
To keep everybody going in the right direction.
That makes sense.
Impressive. Systems approach.
Thanks.
If you wanna do membership trend, you can just,
Is that my
Just
next?
keep going.
Okay.
no, I'm next.
Okay.
In your packet is a membership trend by cohort. On the last Wednesday in September, school districts in the state are required to report our membership to the state, and they use this data for various sources of funding. In your packet is a cohort report that I put together and showing how each class has increased or decreased in the membership through the years. This is based on the far right side. You'll see 23-24 kindergarten through 12th grade. Just a couple things to point out. You'll see this is the highest year we've had since 14-15. The highest year we've had in this cohort trend was 13-14 with 2,069. And we're only 20 behind that number now. Lowest was first year returning back from COVID, 2021. We had 1,987 students. But it's good data for us to have and track as we continue to move forward and plan.
Is that 1,987, is that like from like online learning, or is there?
That's the total number of students that were enrolled on in part of our
Whether it
membership,
was-
regardless of the learning platform.
So as I just sort of work left to right, top to bottom, nothing surprising, alarming, anything like that, until you hit the top right cell.
That could be, yes.
Holy cow. I mean, you're talking about 2 additional sections, and then who knows what's coming.
It's
What are you
larger
seeing
than
in
13-14 years.
Just keep coming.
Yeah.
And based upon what we've added for early childhood,
Yeah.
that trend could likely continue.
Yeah.
That's 20%.
We have around 19 open evaluations for new students that have never received services before and received 2 more referrals today,
Okay.
in addition to all the kids that we already have, so.
What do you do? Sorry, I'm gonna squirrel off for just 1 second.
Sure.
What do you do without Head Start? Right?
What we're doing.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Just some interesting thought. Okay. That 180, seriously though, you work all the way through that graph and not be, plus 3 minus 4 plus whatever.
40.
Wow.
You know, to add to that, which could be a scary part, is open enrollment.
Right, I have no idea about it.
I know, 100%, 100%.
Not just
And
for the year, but when football season ends and basketball begins.
right,
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah. Right.
Okay, any other questions? Membership? Okay, action items. Okay, next up is our revised district assessment plan.
Okay, we're needing to make updates to this plan. It's already been approved by the board. Specifically to the testing calendar, dates initially set up for session 2 and 3 of the I-Ready formative assessment tool need to be adjusted as outlined in your packet. The crossed out dates were originally planned dates, and the new dates are highlighted in yellow. We gained valuable experience giving the initial screener in September. That experience has brought about requested adjustments for our next 2 screening sessions so that we are better able to execute the exam.
Any questions for Dave at this point? Yep. If not, I need a motion to adopt the revised district assessment plan.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Okay. Next up is our Board of Education manual.
Yeah, this manual was presented to the board last month, at the regular meeting for first reading. Manual outlines procedures and processes to support the district board policies. No changes have been submitted since last month, and it's submitted for your approval.
Okay, any discussion? If not, I need a motion to approve the Board of Education manual, please.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, next we have our drinking water testing.
So, recent legislation, Senate Bill 681, Get the Lead Out of Drinking Water Act, is a new requirement for school districts to test for lead in all drinking water outlets. We solicited bids, have three bids. We provided a count to them of 84 water outlets throughout the district. So, recommendation for Axiom Service Professionals as the lowest and best bid for the district, $4,452.
Raj, on that, and it may just be me, but part of that was on your water sources on a 5-year reoccurring basis. Is that
So-
every year for 5 years, or is that every 5 years?
It's an every 5 year. If there's don't quote me on this on the legislation, but if there's one that is over the limit, then it's tested again, and when you do that remediation, then you have to test it the following year as well. You have to test it more frequently if you've done something to correct the problem. Yeah.
Okay.
And that 84 is probably gonna change a little because I probably missed something, like a dishwasher that is included in that I probably missed counting, but the numbers are all based on the same thing. So. And there's a process, our custodians will be helping with that too this summer. He'll get all the paperwork done, we'll test probably this summer. There's a flushing process for each thing, you have to hold it for 5 minutes and all kinds of stuff, so.
Okay, any other questions? At this point, I need a motion to accept Axiom.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, now our change order with Excel Constructors.
Two things, change order for removal, and this was done a long time ago, it just didn't get through to us price-wise, but we had a tree removed over at the middle school, $1,675, that would have been in the way of the drive. And then the other one is the one that Patrick referenced, that was the contingency of $32,000. That's to the good for us. So those two.
So clearing and rubbing, did you call out and then include this tree in the middle of it?
Well, so the tree was out of the driveway. When we were over there when they were cutting the new drive in, they had to go so far under the drip line that all of us standing there were convinced it was probably gonna die, cause they took out several feet of dirt, like halfway back from the drip line back.
We
to the
thought
truck.
we could save it on paper, but
Yeah.
in practice.
Yep, exactly right, yep.
Any other questions? If not, I need a motion to approve change orders with Excel.
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you.
Now put the tree back, please.
Next up is our out-of-state student travel request.
2 this month, one FFA to National Convention, and then the other FBLA to Dallas. So that's actually the same trip request you approved last month, but the organization changed city and date, because the other city and date was getting too pricey. So they're going to Dallas instead of, I don't know, somewhere in Rhode Island or Atlanta.
That was Boston.
Boston, something.
It's cheaper.
They've moved to the Midwest.
Any other questions? If not, I need a motion to approve the travel request.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Well, at this point, I need a motion to conduct a closed executive session, including any record or vote at the next scheduled meeting pursuant to statutes contained in chapter 610.021 RSMO.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Aye.
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 And I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.